Vermont struck a huge blow for the environment when it banned food scraps from landfills back in 2020. But what's next? And what can you do to level up your composting skills? We're getting the scoop on the Vermont Organics Recycling Summit today on Across the Fence. Hello, Vermont. Did you know that we are one of only 9 states in the U.S. to require the composting of food scraps? For some of us, that's what composting is all about. You can't put food scraps in the trash, so it goes in a bucket and out to the curb for pickup. End of story. And if that's you, that's great. You're doing your bit to reduce methane emissions from landfills, so thank you. And then there are those for whom composting and organics recycling more broadly is a way of life, nourishing the soil, strengthening local food systems, and supporting community resilience. If you're in that second group or want to be in that second group but need some guidance, then today's conversation is for you. Joining me today to talk about the 20th Annual Vermont Organics Recycling Summit is Natasha Duarte, the director of the Composting Association of Vermont, the organization that's hosted the summit for 19 of its last 20 years. Natasha, welcome.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to have you back here. The last time we were sitting down together, we were talking about composting leaves.
Yep.
And now here we are. We're moving seasons. We're getting into the compost season, and we're ready to talk about Compost Summit. So talk a little bit about composting as a way of life. Is that a fair way to assess what Vermont Organics is all about? Or Composting Vermont's all about?
Yeah, I think so. So we are the only organization in Vermont that is solely dedicated to composting. So while other solid waste entities and other groups might be doing composting as well as trash and recycling and all the other things, we're really focused on the organics management piece. So we believe that composting and using compost is central to sustainable communities, good, healthy food systems, and strong local economies.
Yeah.
And when you think about it like this, you actually start thinking about these materials as nutrient-rich resources instead of waste.
Yeah.
And so as an educational nonprofit, we provide a lot of opportunities for people to figure that out and start making that shift from waste to resource themselves. For example, on March 11th, we have a free workshop coming up in Montpelier, from dry spells to downpours, using compost for water-wise landscapes.
Okay.
And it's a completely free, open to the public workshop in Montpelier on March 11th, and anyone who might be interested can find all that information right on our homepage. And then coming up after that, later this month, is our biggest event, which is the Vermont Organics Recycling Summit.
Yes, okay, so with the topic of what we're discussing today.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really important because I like that you just put composting into context for us, right? Because composting is something that is mandated in Vermont, right? We can't put our food scraps into the landfill anymore, but that doesn't mean, like, that after that, there's a whole spectrum of what composting looks like. And so Composting Vermont is really about making certain that people have the skills, have the education, like know all of this. And then when we're talking about this summit, I actually was interested because it's talking about organics recycling, which isn't necessarily the exact same thing as composting, am I right?
That's right. I mean, it's broader.
It's broader.
So composting is one of the ways that we manage our organic materials, but there's also anaerobic digestion, and there's different technologies that we use to sort of help us along the way.
And as we're going to see, there's also a real range of what those organic materials might be. It isn't
That's
necessarily just food scraps, right?
Yep.
Although a lot of what we're going to be talking about is food scraps.
That's true.
Okay, so
That's
we
true.
have a graphic here about that Organics Recycling Summit. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, so it is on March 25th from 9 in the morning until 4 at the Montpelier Performing Arts Hub. So we're in Montpelier this year, which is exciting for us. And our theme is compost, feed the soil that feeds us.
Okay.
So really tying back to those sustainable food systems and what composting does to support healthy communities in Vermont.
Food systems. See, every time you talk about food systems, now you're speaking my language.
Yes, yes. Well, it's all tied together.
It is very tied together, right? I mean, this is how we get into the full circle. And like you said, it's about not thinking about these things as waste, but as thinking about them as part of the entire universe of what it takes to have a thriving and healthy food system.
Yep.
Right, so what kind of an audience do you get at the summit? Who comes?
Yeah, so we get composters, of course, and food scrap haulers, policymakers, but we also get farmers, engage community members, educators, students. A lot of students come, which is fun.
Great educational opportunity.
Yes, yeah. And it is, this year we have a keynote, Jane Murner from Rhode Island, who also hosts the Composter podcast, where she does fabulous interviews of some people, even some from Vermonters. So
See, as
people
I said,
can check that out.
Composting is a lifestyle.
It is
for
a
many
lifestyle,
people, correct?
definitely.
Yes.
And then that'll be followed up by sessions on everything from policy updates around how there's going to be new rules about how, from the state, about how we manage organic materials more at sort of the municipal and commercial levels.
Yeah.
And then we also have sessions on nutrient recovery and compost and soil health and action in communities, as well as tying the Vermont food security roadmap to some waste reduction strategies for our state. And then there's also topics of things like biochar, why, what, how. So it's a pretty diverse, diverse summit this year.
Yeah, and day one, and this is only the second year, I think, that it's been a 2-day conference. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, and so day one, it sounds like. So day one is your classic conference style, a little bit more sit down, but also great networking opportunities for people who are interested in getting a chance to talk to some of those on the regulatory side, on the policy making side, et cetera, right?
Yeah, so day one is Wednesday, the 25th, and it's definitely a little bit more classic conference style, but we leave information-based, but we have a lot of time, like we have like a 2-hour lunch where we have lunchtime table topics. There's a lot of access to, municipal and state workers who are going to be there as well. So if people want questions, there's composters. There's a lot of time for this informal conversation.
This one is also fee-based?
It is fee-based.
And you do need to register.
That you need to register. There is a small fee, and because we recognize that not everyone can take a full day off from their lives to come and join us to do a deep dive. This is why we have day two.
All right.
That's right. During COVID, we switched the format to all online, and so we had this series of webinars. And what we saw was this explosion of just Vermonters tuning in for one here and there. And we really wanted to continue in that spirit of accessibility and just have them available. So,
and they're all over the state.
They're all over the state. So hopefully there's one. I mean, we have 6 this year. And so maybe there's one near folks who are listening in. And so you can go to something more local or something more topic specific. And they range from 1 to 3 hours.
Okay.
So it's a little bit easier, and thanks to all of our fabulous sponsors, we are able to offer these completely free. We do require registration just for planning purposes.
Well, let's talk about some of the 2-day highlights, because you're starting out in Middlebury.
Yes.
Okay, where are you going to be?
We are starting in Middlebury at Project Independence, which is an adult day center for seniors. And I'm super excited that they decided to offer this tour, because I actually worked really closely with them to set up their on-site composting system. So the seniors who are at their center participate, they help separate, they can do it all themselves, or they at least help do it, and then they utilize the compost that they make in their therapeutic gardens there.
That's wonderful.
And so it's kind of nice to see it come full circle. We just helped them set that up last year.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Then you're off back to Montpelier. Folks can learn, they're going to learn about making biochar. Okay, so what is biochar? Yeah,
so biochar is, it's like a stable form of charcoal, and it's made from burning brush or wood chips, sort of that woody material, but in a low oxygen environment. And so instead of burning up to ash like it might do in your wood stove, you get this nice dense charcoal, and it has a lot of pore space. And so those tiny pores hold water, hold nutrients, and they also are great habitat for all of those tiny beneficial microbes that live in our soil.
Okay, and this has gotten really kind of trendy in the composting universe?
It has, yeah. So
this is going to be probably maybe a sought after session for
hopefully, it's going to be in Montpelier, so we're hoping that it's central and hopefully accessible. This is actually our longest workshop. It's a 3-hour workshop. Because we have folks from the Biochar Coalition coming from California, actually, who are going to do the session on Wednesday. But this is really like hands-on, get all your questions answered. They have a kiln. We're gonna
Very cool.
make the biochar and
Very cool.
all the way through to extinguishing it and talking about how to use it.
Let's take a look now. So then you're off to Sharon, where you're visiting an elementary
Yes.
school. We have about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
So yeah, cute, kids, composting. If kids can do it, we can do it.
If kids can do it, we can do it. They're part of the Upper Valley Super Compost Project,
Okay.
which is one of my favorite projects. So inspiring to see kids doing it and explaining why.
And then in Brattleboro, animal mortalities. What does that mean?
Yeah, so there are trickier organic materials that maybe we don't think about that much. So there are farm mortalities that happen. There's also like a slaughterhouse or butcher waste. And so those can be safely managed at permitted facilities in Vermont. And so this session is going to talk about what that looks like, what that's about, and how it can best practices for that.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
pretty
a little
cool.
geekier than some of the other
Yeah,
ones.
a little geekier, a little on the grosser side. Let's just keep with the sort of the gross theme here for a minute, because then we finish up with a couple of innovative operations that are dealing with waste in an almost classic sense. Yeah,
Yes.
so Rich Earth Institute and Wasted, what do they do?
Yeah, so they are actually focused on nutrient recovery from human waste. So primarily urine, but there's also compost toilet systems. But they are capturing and utilizing urine and turning it into a fertilizer for use on farms. And so there's a lot of research behind this that they both do. And so one is in Rich Earth Institute is in Brattleboro, Wasted is in Williston. And so these are tours of their facilities where folks can figure out if it's for them.
And then this is where now you really can see, like, this is the full
The
and
full
complete
cycle.
of how we keep our food system healthy. All right, so if you are intrigued and ready to sign up, here's one more look at the summit info while we are finishing up. Natasha, what do you hope folks take away from the summit?
Yeah, I hope folks get really inspired by all of the things that are already happening right now in our state and all the opportunities to get engaged. And it's just a great opportunity to hang out with other compost and soil lovers.
Yes, hang out with the other compost and soil lovers. I love that. All right, well, Natasha, thank you for joining me. Sounds like we're going to be seeing you again soon, because it turns out that in May is going to be International Compost Month, and we have something planned. So thank you. I will see you again soon.
Thanks so much.
And as always, Vermont, thank you for learning and exploring with me today. And thanks to the team that makes Across the Fence possible. I'm Amy Finley. This is Across the Fence. Come back and let's learn and explore again tomorrow.